Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for Season 6. Season 6. It's the season of the 6. I know. It's incredible, isn't it? Today, I've brought them back from outer space. They just came with that special magical look upon their face. I know I should have changed the lock. I should have thrown away the key, but if I'd known for just 1 second, they'd be back
I just
to
slipped
Bez
in
with
when
me.
you weren't looking.
It is Thursday. Joining me once again after a long absence, I've got the rather wonderful, rather fantastic Bez. Hello.
Oh, thank you very much. It's lovely to
That's all right.
be on, and yeah, I think I was really wanting to have you on my show to chat about. You know, you made some really good points when Antoinette was there about relationships between reviewers and publishers, and it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because
No, absolutely.
The whole so much stuff is messed up. I mean, we could talk about how really we want universal basic income, how that would solve so many things, and you know, we could talk about how. Anyway, let's not talk about governmental issues.
And people could do hobbies without feeling they need to hustle for hobbies. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That they feel once they get to a certain area, they need to like monetize everything. And I think, you know, it's really quite a terrible side of this entire kind of creation side of things, whether it's like content or whether you're doing other things as well. And that there's always this push to say, well, when are you gonna start monetizing it? When are you gonna start to get merch? And you move from somebody who's creating stuff purely for enjoyment to feel like you're creating stuff in order to justify people kind of giving you money.
Like you can do. I mean, it can go that way, and at the same time, I don't know. Like, so I was talking to Matt Fantastic, and I was getting a wee bit of mentorship from them, and they were talking about, you can do different projects for different reasons. So, like, one game that you do could be, okay, this particular game, this is for money reasons. This particular game is for just, this is an outlandish idea, and I just want to have the most ridiculous name on a box ever, and I want to have, like, 2,000-word title, and it's a point of pride. Or sometimes it's like, okay, my wee whimsical creatures, that's not a super out there outlandish idea, it's just a fun party game. But then I realised that I don't want to have that hassle of, you know, having to make 1,000 copies. And I've decided I'm going to do what I'm calling Bezzy budget bags, where it's literally just print on demand, a bunch of cards, literally just in a bag. You don't even get a box, but you know, I basically get it out as cheap as I can because I just want to get it out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're for people, because there'll be people who will be listening here and they're going, well, these two people are speaking like they've just bumped into each other at the local kind of park, and they're just sitting down and having a chat, and some people will not any idea. So Bez is the creator of a couple of games, is possibly the most successful games designer I know in terms of breaking into the mainstream. And let me substantiate.
When you say that you know, you mean that you know personally?
Yes, I would say that. I would say that you are kind of the standard, which I think a lot of designers kind of would aim to get to the point where where their game is actually sitting on the shelves of a shop or a store, and it's not necessarily kind of like a specialised store. Because before we actually started chatting, and even when we were organising the call, I made Bez aware that the game that they designed, which was originally In a Bind and is now called Yogi, which has been translated into more languages than
20.
words that I can speak, 20 something like that. I was in the local shop, the branch of WH Smith, and it was sitting there on the shelf next to kind of Exploding Kittens and Unstable Unicorns and Obama Llama. So it was right on there with that kind of trilogy of these kind of smallish kind of box games, which are seen as kind of like almost casual, kind of very fun, very easy to kind of pick up with. And that's why I kind of use that moniker with yourself, is that you are one of the more successful in terms of cracking into the mainstream and having your product kind of being commercially available, not just online or through a series of kind of like specialist shops or something like that. I mean, that's that.
Yeah,
that's
I can sort of see
thing.
what you're saying. Like, in terms of...
Yes.
Like, Dave Turksey has been massively successful, in terms of finances,
Yes.
in terms of doing a ton of stuff, but it's very
Yes.
much Dave Turksey is a hobbyist designer. But
Yes, exactly. You
I
wouldn't
am
see...
immensely grateful. Let me just so for those who don't know, In a Bind / Yogi, it's got cards that say things like one finger touching nose, one finger touching ear, two hands touching, this card on top of head, hand on a knee, this card on your shoulder, and you've got to do all of these things at once. So at each turn,
Yes.
you draw a card, you do what it says, everyone else does the same, and then while still following all previous instructions, draw another card, do what it says. And that's it. That's the entire rules. If you stop what you are doing, then if you break
You're out.
instruction, you're out. That's it. I can teach this game in 30 seconds. I just did, I think. I don't know how long that was. I would have to go back and give myself...
Well, we can go back and we can mark it. I can call it the title of the
really
show.
matter. But the point is that, yes, it is a simple game, and I am very privileged that... okay, look, I don't want to sell myself short. When I was trying to think of that game, I was trying to think, okay, what is a game that I could take to Kickstarter? What's a game that is just a deck of cards, because that's going to be easier to sell, to produce. It's going to be a bit cheaper in terms of a goal. And I made some decisions like, okay, yes, I am going to try and make it as popular as I can. I was kind of setting myself up for success, but at the same time, my subsequent things, Kitty Cataclysm, DL deck, formerly known as Wibble++, those are DL deck. Honestly, that's something that I'm more proud of. Like, the community that's there, and this plethora of games that you can play with one deck of cards. And the thing I'm really proud of is the diversity and the fact that with the L deck, they're all good games, but it's harder to sell. That's basically what I'm saying. And the truth of the matter is, and I'm not saying this to beat myself down or anything, I will maybe never make a game that's as easy to sell as Yogi, formerly known as In a Bind, ever again. That's just the facts of the matter. I'm not looking for people to say, oh no, look, I'm comfortable with that. What I would like to do going forward is to make some things that will sell like 10% of it. And, if I make like 5 things that sell 10% of it, then boom, now I'm kind of starting to get myself a bit more of a decent income. But that, going back to what we said when I think we were recording, talking about UBI, like, that's basically what Yogi's done for me. It's not made me rich. I can't afford to go, like, having... I couldn't afford to go to, like, a restaurant all the time or anything like that, but I can afford to pay my rent, and I can afford to eat food as long as I'm a wee bit careful with my budget. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
No. But it does give you that kind of base platform.
Exactly, and that's
from
the
which
thing.
everything else can extend
Like,
off of.
it's kind of like I'm bleeping privileged because, and I'm trying to make this a family-friendly show, but I am bleeping privileged. That's now I've got this game that sold hundreds of thousands of copies, And yeah, it's hopefully going to keep selling and maybe even grow. I don't know. Maybe it'll die off. I don't know the future. But for now, it feels like I've got that safety net. I don't have to scramble. I don't have to stress about everything. And that's a safety net that I just wish was there for everyone. Because what have I done over the past year? It doesn't... Yes, I've had off days. Yes, I've had lots of days where I've just not been able to do much. But, you know, I've kind of still been trying to be productive with games before the lockdown. And then since the lockdown, it's like, well, yeah, playtesting isn't going to happen. I better start... let's start up with Sally. And that's how it's all started. Sally Jones, who you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like the Crafting Jones, we were on the phone like just after Aircon, and we were both a bit down about everything locking up. Like that, this was the last ever convention in the UK before lockdown, and we were giving each other elbow bumps. We weren't shaking hands. It was very different. It will possibly be. Yeah. And I am very curious to see what UK Games Expo or any conventions that happen this year are going to be like, but.
Okay, just to cut across you there, because I got the email from the UK Games Expo today.
Yeah,
like probably everybody did. What was your gut reaction? I mean, as somebody who's potentially might, I'm guessing would be a potential exhibitor there, if definitely not somebody who would be going. What was your gut reaction on that? When they were, because the thing was quite laid out, and it was talking about it was going to be safe, and they're taking all the precautions.
My gut reaction was kind of like, wow. Richard had reached out to me and all the other exhibitors, I believe, to say, hey, we are delaying it once more. We might have it in the summer, we might not. We're not sure yet. We're waiting on all this information. We just want an early taste of, would you be exhibiting at our show if we run? And I thought about it and I decided, you know what, right now I sold out of Kitty Cataclysm and the LDEC last year physically. Just because of the way that things have turned out, I didn't feel a strong need to reprint it and to go ahead with that. And right now printers are booked up. I'm probably not going to have much to sell, if anything. Yeah, I can playtest stuff. Yeah, it will be really fun for me to go, but it's got to be my whimsy budget. I don't know if I've talked about that before. I've got a whimsy budget. Like 2 years ago, 2019, it was the cat wall. Yeah. You know, that cost me a good chunk of money to have this wall erected. And then last year it was balloon machine that no one ever got to see because everything shut down. And I still want to bring that balloon machine out, but this year it's got to be, okay, what's good for also my personal sanity? Because you've got to have a whimsy budget if you're running your own business to some degree, because if not, why not? Why are you doing it if you don't allow yourself some frivolous expenses? And I'm thinking, I want to go to UK Games Expo. I am gagging at the bit to... I am... desperate is a strong word, but pretty much I am desperate for things to return, and I would definitely benefit from being around people, even if it's 2 meters distancing, even if it's okay, we can only play the games where you don't touch the same components. Honestly, 2020, I was talking with Jason about, okay, if I go, will we have enough games that we can demonstrate that people don't even have to touch the same things? Would that be possible? And I thought, yes, we could play Wibble and then have like a croupier kind of passing the cards to people, but they don't touch their own cards. Obviously, Yogi's right out. I mean, yeah, that would be ridiculous. But you could play Giftable or Phrasal with the LDEC, and there's a couple of things. It would definitely be a different vibe, but I really want to go. I have said to Richard, I will go, but I'll have a much smaller stand because, and it might just be me, but I'll make it work out somehow. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I guess I've got to work it out somehow. So that's pretty much what
and just for everybody who's listening, Bez is talking about Richard Denning, who runs the UK Games Expo, not talking about me. I don't run.
Oh yeah, sorry.
The UK Games Expo. In case there's some kind of confusion, and it's just like, well, why are you surprised about running your own expo? You obviously sent out the emails, so why are you surprised about receiving an email about running about an expo that you did? And I don't run it, but I kind of went. My instant reaction to it was July. I don't know if that's a bit too soon. I know, like I don't know how many vaccinations you've had, if you've had any at all yourself.
I haven't yet.
See, I've had my first one, and I'll be due my second one literally in the first week in June. I think the first or second week in June. That's when I'm expecting to get my second vaccination.
So
and even with me being fully, yeah, I'm not. I don't know. My thing was my thought was, right, the demographic of most people that is there, I'm guessing that the natural demographic of most people there are going to be under the age of 40. Is everybody that's going to be in that demographic going to have had both vaccinations by then? My guessing is it's potentially not going to happen, but I guess it's up to the individuals. I completely understand the need to be getting back out there and speaking to people and being just around people. It was my wife's birthday just the weekend there, and we had members of the family, not a huge crowd. There was only about four adults there, and then there was ourselves, and it was strange to be in that social situation with actually being around people outside, and also being around people and not being kind of in a masked up situation. So you were actually communicating, and I realised that I've totally lost my normal, my terrible social skills as it was. I've kind of completely lost them. So I guess I would be very excited about going back, and actually obviously there's the option of kind of like the general excitement about seeing people again that for a lot of people, I haven't seen them in a couple of years now because I didn't go to AirCon. It was a last minute decision. And I said, look, I can't go to AirCon because that was when everything was just about to be kind of locked down, as you said. So I'm kind of intrigued. I think if it goes ahead and it sounds like they're really, really jacking it up to make it as a safe event as possible, that is fantastic. For me, it's maybe a little bit early, but that's just because I'm a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to these. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like I'm trivialising the thing because, okay, so for those who don't know, it's Tony Hyams and Richard Denning who run the show. And Tony Hyams in one of the interviews said, look, at the end of the day, if we get it wrong, people die. And people dying is not worth people playing games. And, you know, the fact that Tony Hyams mentioned that, it made me happy because they understand the gravity of the situation. And
oh yeah, totally. I don't think I'm not trivializing it.
GP Richard was actually drafted back in, I believe, to do a wee bit of helping out with a couple of things, but
right.
Don't quote me on that. But anyway, the point is that Richard's medical person. Richard knows the score, and Tony clearly understands the gravity of the situation. And so,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Are they going to run? I decided, okay, I'm going to. I know this might sound like blind faith or whatever, but I am going to put some degree of faith into Richard and Tony. That's what it came down to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not being funny, but going back to kind of like there will be people out there just now who potentially might even be listening to this show, who literally have not really seen another soul except for going to the shops for a year, yeah? And I know of some people who have been stuck in the situation where they don't have flatmates, they don't have roommates, they don't have partners or anyone that they're staying with. They have literally been stuck in a room by themselves waiting for this thing to blow over. And I completely understand if at the first sniff of them actually having a shred of normality around them, they would grasp it with both hands. And I think, you know, for UK Games Expo, that would be, it sounds like they really are. I mean, it's not, I mean, I remember the difference in here and obviously the States.
I mean, it might not be the first convention though, because I've seen very small things happening. And I think it was today or I think it was yesterday, I saw on Instagram someone actually advertising a thing in Camden, London. And it was, I think, for next month. And it was saying, okay, we'll have 75 people. And I replied saying, okay, this sounds interesting, but can it actually go ahead? And he said, well, if the government plans, go ahead, and depending on the regulations. And I wonder how much of this is the whole, well, we couldn't have groups in our house, but because you're paying money, because the government wants to encourage capitalism and spending money, you can go out and have 75 people together. And how much of that is the government making a calculated risk, if you know what I mean? And
I think if we don't want this podcast to turn into me ranting and raving for the next 40 odd minutes, then let's not go into the government thing, I think. But no, I totally see. I think there will be a need to kind of open back up. And I'm just thinking, well, I've been kind of lucky because I do have family. I do have, I've got family. I can see, I've been able to kind of, I've got, my house is in a situation where it's like me spending large amounts of time in there is not a terrible situation to be in, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I think the important thing, let's set aside the politics. The important thing here is that there is kind of a smaller scale thing, which is essentially testing it out. I think they're hiring out some big rooms in some hotel, like travel. I don't know the name of the hotel. There's, one of those chain hotel type things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The ones but that's kind of testing the grounds, and we will have opportunity to test the grounds. And I think that it's like, okay, do you feel safe here? Do you feel safe there? How does this go? How does and there are more events that are coming up. I saw all sorts of events that are for now and between the middle of August, and it's like things are opening up, and everyone needs to decide for themselves where they think is safe. For sure,
exactly.
UK Games Expo, the things that they ask of you to administer a test yourself, they're talking about the reduced capacity. I'm actually surprised that the ticket prices are the same, but I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if they're managing the finances.
They're not even having press. I mean, they're saying that because of we can't just let everybody in as it was before, and therefore anybody that's coming along under the kind of the media guys will have to pay for tickets, because they used to be handing out kind of free tickets, which just goes to show what a big bunch of freeloaders the games media are. If by getting them to pay for tickets, it's actually having a serious effect on profitability. No, I'm only joking. It's just I love you all. But anyway, but I mean that comes back of everybody kind of coming out of lockdown. When everybody first kind of went into lockdown, a couple of things happened. My kind of output in terms of kind of podcasting and interviewing people kind of slowed down. I took a break. I took a little bit of time to step away and kind of check out the colour of my shoes and how dirty they were. However, you decided to kind of take up the mantle almost. In terms of, because there was always the joke about, well, how many shows are you doing, blah, 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 you're releasing kind of like one every 10 minutes, very funny. But then you seem to have...
I've done...
You seem to have kind of jumped into that bit, because I remember at the beginning, there was all of a sudden, everybody decided to jump on Twitch. And then after about 3 months, a lot of people jumped off Twitch because nothing wasn't because people were like, kind of, oh yeah, I'm a member of 27 Discord groups now, and I've now got to drop out of 24 of them because I can't keep an eye on it. But alongside, you started to do this kind of daily positivity, where you were having kind of live interviews with people. You were streaming it either on YouTube or you started streaming on Twitch itself. And you were kind of having people along, kind of from the industry. So what? I mean, from my point of view, obviously, I was in a jealous rage when I saw you doing it because it all looked very, very good fun.
Or is it?
It's not fun. That's not. No, it's not. Well, slightly. No, it's a little bit true. No, it's not. It is, definitely.
Yeah.
But
I know, like, you don't want to admit it, but I've got this bit of envy in me. I mean, you know, when you see someone else having fun and you're like, oh, why can't I be part of it? We don't want to admit it, but it is just human nature, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah, it is. But what made you decide to say, well, okay, I'm gonna dust down my camera?
Look, my laptop has a built-in microphone and a camera, so I already had that basically there. And it was on Monday evening after Aircon, and then I was chatting to Sally Jones, and you know, before you interrupted me, I was saying that Sally Jones, hey. We had both been harassed by some person on the internet that was being a bit of a obnoxious person. And he said, yeah, that's... And then we got chatting about other things. And I said, oh, I don't know what's going on with this whole lockdown. Do you think things are going to stop? And Sally said, well, you know, I think dancing's definitely going to have to stop. And I said, yeah, I think it is. I can't see us, you know, going out swing dancing. And we both really enjoy swing dancing, right? Sally and I, not together, sadly, but because we live quite far apart. But yeah, I used to go out swing dancing every Tuesday evening a year and a bit ago. Now, Sally, that week, I think there was some plans that Sally had on Tuesday that's also had to get cancelled. And I was like, hey, Sally, what if tomorrow, because tomorrow it was Monday at the time, and I was like, hey, what if tomorrow I make up a game that we can play together and you won't need to print anything out, you'll just need pencil and paper, maybe something involving the L deck, and then you'll make words, but would you like to come and play with me? We can have a bit of a chat, we can play this game, and then that's what's happened. I researched, okay, how can I make this work? And then I had a wee look. The first programs that I found, StreamYard, it works really well, and if someone actually wants to use it, let me know, because I can give you a referral link where we both get a wee bits of money back. But no, it just made it really easy, and I was streaming on Facebook, and I think I might have been like Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And then Mark Cook was there, and Mark Cook was playing along, and it was so much fun. And then my friend from Essex, James Kay, who sometimes visits me and, you know, physically beforehand, joined in, and I was like, hey, this was really fun. Do you want to do it on Thursday? And then we did it on Thursday, and hey, even on Wednesday, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not seeing anyone on Wednesday. This is a bit sad. What if we make this thing a 3 times a week thing? And so that's the way it started. Yeah. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, we were playing games. Sometimes it was things I'd made up. Sometimes it was things that existed, like Wits and Wagers, or Say Anything. Yeah, to be fair, I know they're both from the same company, but the North Star games do make good stuff. And I think there might have been one time where we did actually play Yogi, but everyone had their own deck of cards, and you were... Yeah. But, then that was fun. That's a thing that's carried on, although the Thursday and the Sunday I've dropped because people have found other things to do. There was a point when I was just getting up really late. I used to love Friday daytime playtest. Friday used to be my favourite day of the week, true story. Like, sometimes I'm off on a convention, that's fun, but Friday, 10 a.m, I'm in front of Royal Festival Hall, then I'm going in, then I meet all the lovely people like Kelly Dix and David Breen and all the other London designers, and then we play things and we chat, and then we play more things, and then we chat and we play more things, and then we go home, and by that time it's 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's a proper solid day of making connections and playing each other's games, and it feels fruitful. It feels like really productive. It feels important. And for a while, we tried to keep that going, basically on Discord or Zoom, trying to have a camera thing and seeing if it could work. But then I really don't like Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia, and we were trying to avoid that, and then the restriction on what we could actually do, because it was basically just roll and write, it didn't feel worthwhile enough, so we dropped that eventually. And I started getting up really late in the day. I was feeling a bit down, not gonna lie. I started, maybe getting up in the afternoon every day. I didn't have a reason that, hey, I have to get up in the morning for this.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to my American friend, Heather Newton. And Heather is the organizer of Protospiel.online. And Heather had seen some person streaming literally every morning and said, hey, Bez, this other person's been streaming every morning. Do you consider doing something like that? So I'm like, maybe. That seems like a good idea. And so I kind of thought, okay, what time would be good for me? And then I think I decided that 10 seemed like a reasonable time. And because it's early enough that I feel, if I only get up for that, I've at least not gotten up too late. I've not wasted my entire day, if you know what I mean. But it's late enough that it wouldn't be too much of a struggle. Part of me was thinking, I'll make it so I get up at 8 or even 7 every day. But that was ridiculous. I wouldn't have kept that up.
Did you find, because you ended up over the period of time starting to really talk about certain topics, and sometimes they were directed by the chat, or sometimes it was like you came in with a kind of with a kind of set topic. Did you do planning on it, or were you just kind of saying, well, let's see what happens in this session today?
In a sense, I think there's always been some planning to it. So at the start, I think the first thing I did is I reached out to a friend on Facebook and I said, hey, do you want to join me for this? This is a friend who lives in Thailand, so it would be 5 p.m. their time. And they were also looking for something to do around 5 p.m. Thailand time. But as it turned out, that first day, they weren't able to turn up. So it was like, hey, I'll be on my own. But that aside, I reached out on Facebook also just generally. I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this daily thing. Do you have any questions for me? Anything about board games? Anything about me? Because I want to make sure I've got something to talk about. During those first few shows, and I think it was primarily just, hey, I'm going to talk about whatever. If you've got questions, then ask me them. And this one person, Alan Oughton, was there from episode 1 and watched the majority of the first 110, something like that, episodes before Alan Oughton found other things to do, which is totally fair. Sometimes people's lives or situations change, or they realize, hey, I'm not... But if that one person hadn't been there, I don't know if I would have continued beyond, maybe I would have done it a few days and then I'd be like, there's literally no one paying any attention. But because there was one person there, I felt like I was obligated to get up in the morning. And that's what I wanted, a reason to get up. And that's what it became. It became, hey, I'm starting off doing this, and then I'm talking for an hour. And then I think episode 3 or 4, I reviewed the game and it became interspersed with, sometimes I'm reviewing something for this show, sometimes I'm just answering questions. And then I thought of, okay, let's think of different things to mix it up. Maybe on this day of the week, I'll do some brainstorming. And I try to do some brainstorming to show how it works. And then I decided, okay, you know what? Wednesdays, one day a week, I will be self-promotional. But that's all changed once I started getting people in. Because when Richard Denning, sorry, not you, Richard Simpson, when the other Richard Denning was...
The better Richard.
Hey, don't go comparing yourself. You are just as good as Richard Denning. Maybe not as good at Richard Denning as running conventions, but I will say that you are definitely the best Richard that I know out of doing podcasts.
Thank you.
But
anyway, I cut across you what you were saying.
Richard Denning, I reached out to say, would you like to be up for coming on my show to talk about this virtual expo? Because I'd like to talk about what's going on here. And Richard agreed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Let me make sure that I can actually have guests. And then I had Alan Paul on, who's Surprise Terror Games, best known for March of Progress and Ming Voyages. And the company Surprise Terror Games put out Snowdonia, which some people might know. But anyway, I had Alan Paul on basically as a test subject, as a guinea pig. And then Alan was like, hey, that was quite fun. And I was like, would you be up for doing this like every fortnight? And Alan Paul's been like my regular guest now, literally every fortnight. Alan Paul has been on. And I got really into having people on. And I've had so many people who I wouldn't have thought I would have had the chance to talk to in so much depth. Like now I've spoken to, some of them I'd heard of, like Shem Phillips and Martin Wallace. And of course, Richard Denning, like I had chatted to him before, but not in a, hey, let's just chat for 2 hours. But then also, recently, like one of the people who did Board Game Arena, but also all these other people that I didn't really know, like, people who are, sorry, once I start talking about people, it's like, how could I forget Paul Grogan and Daniel Danzer and all these other, I want to mention everyone, but then, like...
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like getting asked, like, I get asked, like, what's my favourite podcast guest that I've had, and I'm just like that. I love all my children equally. Stop asking me such a ridiculous question. But
there are certain shows when you think, okay, this went a wee bit better, and... There are, like, today with Maisie, like, I had Maisie on, who's a Japanese to English translator, and then Maisie came on, and then for a while, it was just interviews, and that was it. I was literally interviewing a different person, maybe 5 new people every week, which was too much. That was too much stress to keep it up. And then around the turn of the year, I decided, okay, for the 2 weeks, I'm not going to take a break as such. I'm just going to go back to solo episodes. And I was up in Glasgow, I was doing some music, I was playing the keyboard, I was chatting on my own, I was doing chaotic shenanigans, I was reading out Fighting Fantasy Gamebook and kind of talking about how bad it is in certain ways. Look, Fighting Fantasy is really good for its time, but I'm just saying that there are certain problems with it with the hindsight of 20 whatever years it's been. I think 25 years.
Exactly.
And
well, it's the same with everything, isn't it?
Yeah, really? Look, I can't help but be critical sometimes, and I hope that people understand that. Like, I could review something that I absolutely adore, but I'm still going to criticize some parts of it. Because I believe that games can be better, that we could all work together to make better things, that we need to think about the effects that games have on the humans around us, that the ecological effects of a game. Do you know what I mean? But...
In terms of like the kind of the channel, are you aiming towards, because one of the things that, as we said at the beginning, there's always the chance that when you're doing something as a hobby, there's the monetization side of things, and I noticed that you're not really chasing the affiliates or people getting you bits and stuff like that. Is that a conscious decision not to kind of make people feel obligated?
Once you have an average of 3 viewers per stream, and once you have streamed for a certain number of hours and have 50 followers, all of which I have way more than done, you are allowed to become affiliate. And I was all excited to become affiliate. And honestly, the reason why I was excited by this wasn't because of the money. I know, like, the reason I was excited was because of the emoticons, because then you get to do your own little emoticons, and then people who pay the channel points, which you get for just being in the chat, they can have these little emoticons, and then it's like, hey, here's a little cool thing. But then I noticed, firstly, I was told by one of my regular viewers that they preferred non-affiliate channels, because sometimes when you start watching someone, it'll have an advert before you get to watch them. And if someone jumps into my channel, I want them to be into the conversation as quickly as possible. I don't want them to have to go through this 30-second advert before they get to me. And that's not something you can turn off if you go affiliate, which seems wrong. And also, with, the other thing with Twitch affiliate is that then you're not allowed to multi-stream. So I know 90% of the people that watch are on Twitch, and that's where I would say 95% of the conversation happens. And I would love everyone to just move over there. But the truth is that some people don't feel comfortable there for whatever reason. Some people see me on Facebook and it still brightens up their day, which is lovely. And I want to be able to continue streaming everywhere simultaneously, even if really, if you want to say hello to everyone in chat, you know, a bit more of that happens in Twitch. And it's... yeah, kind of those two things, but there is a sense of, as you say, if you start chasing subscriptions, if you chase these things, then you kind of, it changes things, and I am worried about it changing things. Look, I'm not money adverse. I have taken money from people in the last bit, and then for writing a couple of songs, and then I realised, hey, wait a minute, you know what? This took me basically 2 half days. I should be at, you know, more than earning minimum wage for what is actually a fairly creative and intensive bit of work. And rather than just doing, but I don't regret, you know, doing a couple of times for very cheap. But like, if someone wants to pay me to have a little thing on the side, or if someone wants to pay me to do some sort of sponsored stream or to write a song about their thing, then I will do that. You know, for the right amount of money. I would make it very clear to everyone, hey, this is basically an advert, and it might be a separate thing, but I do worry, yes, about that sense of, do people just, I worry about it changing things.
I think, here's my thoughts on Twitch, okay? First of all, the creator, I think, gets stiffed on the money, because like Twitch just provides. I know.
Did you know that?
Yeah, Twitch provides. You know, Twitch. I understand Twitch provides a platform, but Twitch is just like a lot of these content platforms, be it Patreon or, you know, and then you can say, well, Richard, these things take programming and stuff like that. And it's like, well, yeah, I know, but I've been involved in software development, and I know that once the main software is kind of up and running, you need a technician to kind of make sure you're managing your bandwidth and stuff like that. But normally it just kind of runs along itself. Somebody told me, it's like, well, yeah, if you do want to give me money, then that's fine. You know, drop us a subscription. But you're probably better actually just PayPaling me, you know, kind of £3 or £4 a month instead, because I know because I make more money than rather you hitting a kind of a full £5 subscription, because Twitch kind of gets half of that. I'm concerned with Twitch. That's my concern about Twitch, is that the whole reward system seems to be based around, yes, it's based around people watching, but it also seems to be very kind of monetized. It's all about people spending money that seems to benefit Twitch itself. And that's my concern, is that, you know, it's built almost up people kind are targeted like to kind of thing. Yeah, kind of like, you know, reward somebody you're watching by giving them bits, which, you know, obviously you pay money for. You know, throw a subscription at somebody which you pay money for, and you know at the end of it that they're not getting the full whack of cash, and instead what's happening is that they're not getting
if someone
the full
is
thing.
Wanting to give money to someone on Twitch, at least with bits, apparently they get 70%. And also the other thing is, if you've got an Amazon Prime, I mean, we can get, if you've got an Amazon Prime subscription, you can buy subscriptions on Twitch.
You can get it, yeah. And you do get a free subscription.
The person that you subscribe to gets a bit of money, but it doesn't cost you anything more. So if you've got Amazon Prime and you aren't doing that, then do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good shout. If you've got Prime and you've not subscribed to a Twitch channel, then just go on and do it, and you don't actually need to do anything except press a button to confirm that you're going to be, you know, you get almost like you're not paying any money. You're basically throwing somebody a subscription and it's not coming out, which is kind of pretty cool and pretty nice and pretty kind of good. Was the Twitch channel and the interview stuff and the daily positivity, for you, was that a way to vent your kind of energy and creativity? Because I think one thing that's happened across the pandemic is mental health is really, a lot of people's mental health has taken a huge
100%
hit.
If I was not streaming on Twitch, I would feel a bleep ton worse than I currently do. And sorry for all the bleeping. But
you're all right.
Thank you. It's a weird thing to apologise for, but look, I think every couple of months at least, I try to take a step back. I try to dedicate an episode to just talking about the stream itself, because I think it's important to be introspective. Certainly when, okay, I've taken 5 days off over the past year and a bit, but I've been doing it over a year now, every day with 5 days off. What I decided is when I get to episode 400, I'm going to stop my morning streams for about 3 weeks, and then I might come back to them and then see how I get on. But right now, I'm like, okay, I'll shorten them. But look, it's addictive. It is addictive to stream. That's a thing that people need to say more. Because when everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants attention to some degree, myself possibly more than others. You've seen me at a convention. You know that hungry look in my eyes when it's, oh, won't people come up and play my game?
No, I done musical theatre. I remember at the end of, when I did Godspell and I played kind of Jesus, and at the end of it, and you're like the lead of the show, and you come out and people are kind of like standing up, or there's big huge amounts of applause, and
you just want to keep that
like
applause
that.
going for as long as possible.
You just want to keep it going, and for that minute you think, I totally understand why you get all these kind of rock stars and celebrities end up checking in for addiction issues, because they're obviously still trying to chase that kind of absolute adulation that they feel when they're standing up in front of I totally see in the terms of the live stream is that you are basically saying, I'd like a bit of interaction, which is, as we said earlier, for some people can be incredibly difficult for them to achieve considering the current circumstances, and that it's a lovely way to have a conversation, and you can build up a little community, and there's people that come along every day, and you become part 100%. Of their day, and they become part of your day.
While I was in Glasgow, I think last month, there was a point where I got super addicted to it. I learned about this online game, right, called Words on Stream. This is a game that you kind of play with people in your Twitch channel, and it's really cleverly programmed, so anything that they type, so you show your webpage where Words on Stream is happening, other people type in words, and anything that's actually an anagram for the letters that are being rotated around the screen gets registered, if you know what I mean. And so everyone in chat is like, okay, great, we're hunting for words together, it's fun, it's kind of cooperative because you're, saying, can we together get to the next level? But it's also competitive because you've got, little personal leaderboards just for that game. And as the streamer, you can say, well done, Alex, well done, Xates, well done, whoever. And it's like, but then when I started doing that, that's where it went really downhill. And because I'd started, instead of doing 1 hour, which is what I started doing at the start, thinking, okay, it's like a TV show. It's got to be 1 hour. By the end of the hour, I'm going to finish up. Then it became, hey, you know what? A lot of these conversations are 2 hours. And I'm totally okay with that. When it's an interesting person, like Martin Wallace, yes, I want them to be talking as long as they will keep giving me time. Or Paul Grogan, for goodness sake. Or Maisie or whatever. But when it's, it got to the point where I was having like a 2 hour discussion with someone. And then afterwards it was like, hey, now let's carry on streaming. Let's play some words on stream. Let's do an after party kind of thing. Yeah. And then because some people are just excited by words on stream, some new people will come in. And when you've got like 12, 15, 20 people watching you, it gives you an immense rush. And that's, not even that many people. There's some Twitch streamers. Obviously, there's a French board gaming thing who has 1,000. And some people do get into the hundreds. And I can't. And I got that once in the... on New Year's Day, when I said, hey, you're trying to do a thing to cover New Year's everywhere, but you're not actually covering New Year's everywhere. What if I started streaming early? And that day I started streaming at 8 a.m. so that a bunch of people would, what they call raid into me, where on Twitch, some people from one channel send them over to you. And then I had I think it was like 70 people all at once, and I was singing songs, singing Auld Lang Syne on every hour, kind of playing the keyboard and, entertaining them with chats about board games. And it's such a bleeping rush like that. It's a validation. And now it's like, next week, maybe I am addicted because I am going to start streaming 12 times a week next week, which is just ridiculous. So not only my morning streams, not only the 8 p.m. on Tuesday, but also I've decided, okay, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, until lockdown properly stops and I'm able to just go gallivanting around with friends again or go back to the Friday playtests. I'm going to have a 1 hour stream where I play games from 4 p.m. till 5 p.m, ideally with someone else who joins me, but we'll see what happens, and ideally half an hour bits of chats. And you talk about positivity, and yes, there's positivity. I try each morning to start off with recent highlights and then a brilliant thing. And at the end, it's kind of like things you're looking forward to. Sometimes it's evolved into things we're getting done, but at the same time, I do get quite negative sometimes. Maybe that's my personality, but when there's a game I love, I'm still going to be negative about it. And the reason that I do it, yes, it's for my sanity, because I want people to... I need that interaction. Secondly, it's for the learning, like some amazing people that I learn from. And those are the main reasons, if I'm being honest. Yeah, it's kind of advertising, but I don't think it's the most efficient way of advertising.
So, what are games? Is there any game recently that you have managed to play at all?
Yes.
That has left you in a positive light?
Oh, I mean, every game that I play pretty much leaves me feeling a wee bit better, is the truth. Because games are... You say, what are games? My current definition for a game is a set of rules that you consciously agree to, and you're allowed to kind of stop them if you want at any point. And yeah, that's literally it. That's my definition. So there doesn't need to be a measure of success. It might be, hey, I'm going to jump up and try and touch the leaf on my next jump. Once you've defined the rules, to me, that makes it into a game. But yeah, talking more practically in terms of board games, yeah, I love board games. I love the interaction between people. I love the talking about it with the person across the table. I managed to play Keyforge with a friend. We got together, and hopefully tomorrow we might get together again. And yeah, even when it's video games, frankly, there are escapism, there are a connection to people, there are a new way of seeing the world, there are a sense of purpose sometimes when your life doesn't have any. Yeah, games are lots of things from a more philosophical point of view. Not sure what you were trying to ask. So
you've been playing Keyforge. Is that the most recent one you've played?
Oh yeah, I've not played a lot of Keyforge. I honestly hadn't played it for... Yeah, I played a few games when it first came out, when I went to Bastion.
Yeah.
I was part of like a friendly tournament. Some person bought a bunch of boosters or a bunch of decks, I should say. Everyone bought one of the wee decks, and then we all played each other like 8 times. And there was a Swiss pairing, but it wasn't really about who's the best. It was about, hey, let's play this game and enjoy it together. And because we're all wanting to play, we know that we'll get like a good 5-8 games out of it. And then it was only recently that I bought a starter deck, and it was... I think having those tokens, I know you don't need them, but it makes the game nicer to play, and it's easier.
Yeah.
You agree?
I like Keyforge. I liked what I played of it. I thought that what was packaged up in the game was potentially the worst way to try and get somebody playing your brand new IP. Because my issue with Keyforge, I think
do you mean the physical packaging, or do you mean the randomization of decks?
The randomization of decks was fine. It was missing the rulebook. I never understand that. I've never understood. I've never, as somebody who reviews, or not necessarily reviews, but somebody who definitely plays Kickstarter games. A lot of those rule books come to me in a digital format, and it doesn't work in my brain all the time. I like the tactileness of having a rule book to go through, and I felt like Keyforge missing out on that.
You want them to have printed it out and include it in the box?
Well, even a basic one, yeah. It allows you to you're sitting and you're learning to play a game, and it's just like, I've finished this section, and it's just something petty with me, I guess, but I thought I'd never understood why Keyforge didn't come with the actual rule book to say this is how you play the game, because I ended up...
you buy the starter pack, and
but the starter pack didn't include all of the rules. It only included the base set, and if you wanted the full rules, you needed to go online.
I see what you're saying. That was like the issue. The starter pack is like the quick start rules, which is like 2 sides of a big page, but then you need to go. Yeah, there was like during our first game, there was the question of, it never happened, but okay, we're 4 cards away from the end of the deck. What happens if we are out? And I wasn't sure.
Exactly.
My friend Layla, she kind of said, well, maybe you shuffle up the discard and that's it. And
or there was putting the marker tokens on the cards if you had used a certain power, and then you had to wait rounds for those marker tokens to use, and it was like I needed to ask a friend who had actually gone ahead and they downloaded it. And the place where we were in at the time, the signal was okay, but it wasn't fantastic. So it was, and as you know, try to read a rule book on a phone is just a difficult. I mean, generally, if I'm reading a rule book,
don't want to have to do that.
Then I usually have a laptop kind of in front of me because my eyes aren't brilliant. Which means I usually have like a laptop kind of open with a big screen, and I'll set the game up and I can kind of look at the big screen. So that kind of ended up leaving a little bit of a, I don't know, because Keyforge kind of ended up kind of disappearing, but that kind of introduction kind of left it on the shelf for me a little bit. But I really,
I would.
I'd be curious to find out if it kind of is.
Because they're still bringing out new sets, so it must continue to sell well. I mean, if you're a company like Fantasy Flight, you're not going to keep bringing out new sets unless there's a certain critical mass.
Yeah, I think Fantasy Flight is in this strange situation where it's got it's kind of got the venture capitalists kind of. The money men kind of driving it, so so if something isn't making them mega bucks straight away, if it's not making money for them immediately, they kind of like say, well, we're not gonna kind of entertain kind of playing that anymore. I mean, myself, I've been playing a couple of games. One of them was I've been working my way through the kind of the behemoth, which is the Wildlands Ancient expansion, which is just Wildlands itself is one of my favorite games. I love the base game. I wrote a huge review on it. I posted multiple pictures on Instagram. It's one of those, it's all about, yes, I got the game, but sometimes the game actually gets you and what you want as a player. And Wildlands, for me, the first time I played it, I was just like, this is so my bag.
What Wildlands is all about?
Wildlands is basically, it's almost like it's my first skirmish game. It's a Martin Wallace game, surprisingly enough. Okay. And your idea is you are playing your own little team of little figures, your little team, and you are trying to either capture a certain number of gems on a map, or you're trying to knock out your opponents. And it's completely card driven. So if you want to move a character, you play a card. If you want to attack somebody, you play a card. If you want to collect a crystal, you collect 2 cards. Your team has kind of got almost like kind of varying powers, and it just clicked. It just worked for me. I played it as 2-player. It just was fantastic. Wildland, and then there was the Adventurer Party and the kind of the undead kind of army, and they added kind of additional factions. And there's been a couple of map packs which have added on kind of additional kind of rules and little kind of effects that happen on the board. Wildland Ancients is introducing these kind of the set of kind of like ancient characters who all have kind of like different skills, but it's introduced like a co-op game and like a solo mode and an ability to play as different factions. And it's kind of like it's almost like somebody met in a room with Martin Wallace and said, what is it you think is missing out of Wildlands? If you could go back and redesign the game or put in the bits that you feel are missing, what bits is it that you would add? And they've obviously allowed him to go ahead and design these kind of extra. So it includes, you can bring in an extra faction, but your ancients, for instance, they work
to know who did what, because it's sometimes impossible to tell. I don't know if Martin Wallace would be the person to do co-op or solo.
I can check. Do you know what? He's done.
Like with Tinner's Trail, I think there's a lots of new stuff with the new Alley Cat games one. That's, I think, David Digby did a solo mode. I'm fairly sure.
Sometimes they bring in Turtsy to do it, or Turtsy and Nick Shaw. It's really funny how I've known. Every time I see there's name, it's a double act that do solo modes. Is my joke about David Turtsy and Nick Shaw? Is there like the solo mode double act? You're going to bring them in? I'll check it. I've actually got. This is it. This is going to be great podcasting, people. It's going to be, and Richard makes his way.
So Richard is
reaching
over to find a box of Wildlands Ancients.
I'm not trying to find a box. I'm just getting.
Richard's eyes dart from side to side. Richard picks up the box lid with a triumphant...
I'm back. My triumphant return. I just try to see the glasses. This is like, to see when you get old and your kind of, your eyes just go and you're just like, this is actually ridiculous. Why can't I see what's going on? It's so bad. It does say Martin Wallace on it. I'm absolutely 100%.
I'm not disputing that Martin Wallace would be on the front, like very bold.
No, it's whether or not he was involved in the development, because I know what you mean, because there's been things on Twitter about people complaining about people naming the publisher as the designer and stuff like that now. So it does say it's Martin Wallace. So
I mean, on the back
so
of
you've
the rules.
got
Shall I
I've got the rules. It does say in the rules. No, I've got the rules here. I've got them right in front of me. So the game development, Anthony Haugego and Philippe Falk Hartelius. And I apologise to both Philippe and Anthony, because it's literally written on the back of the book in about size 2 font. So that's not good. You really need to have this stuff in a much bigger kind of font to let people know who's developing your game. But anyway,
and who did the co-op and who did the solo? Like, we can't tell from that.
We need to know. We demand these things, don't we?
But that's the thing. Like, also, paper is expensive. That's the reason why you don't get Keyforge with the full, I don't know what it is, like 16-page rule book in the box. Even though I kind of agree that yes, there should be a version with that in the box.
Well, there should be something that you could. I know. I'm just being, a grumpy old man.
I would love every game to have, and I chatted to Kenneth Chugwu, like Ogbuagu from Nigeria, about this. Like, I would love every game to say properly, this is what this person did, this is what this person did, this is what this person did, and be clear about that. Not just, hey, some development by this person. Be like,
yeah,
this person contributed this specific idea. Like, for Kitty Cataclysm, I mentioned that there's 2 people whose names I sadly didn't take down, who, I mean, it's not very good for them, but kind of telling
It's
people
just one
about
of
the
those
process. About like telling
Yeah.
people that how committed I was to having different backs on the cards. I'm not saying everyone who plays the game is going to read that extra credit section. I don't believe that 10% of people will. But maybe for that 5% that do, I think they're going to get such value out of it.
But it's just to help them, it's just to educate people about who's involved in the game and how they're involved in the game and how these games get developed. Because
Rob Harris, great job, Rob Harris, for setting up Playtest UK. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
saying, yes, Xate made a fundamental change to Fable. Yes, it kind of came out because Xate misunderstood the rules accidentally, but still, Alphabetical, Mick Wood made a fundamental change, did some proofreading for me and said, Bez, I like this game, but I've decided that I would like it even better if the rules were like that. And I tried it a few times. I wasn't quite sure, but then I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. It's definitely...
So credit your people is
And
what we're trying
it's
to
not
say. I
just
mean,
like
that's funny.
Mick Wood, developer, or Mick Wood, additional ideas. It's Mick Wood did this specific thing. Do you know what I mean?
Did this thing. Because then, further down the line, if you don't have those people in your credits, if you don't mention those people, then you're doing them a disservice if then they come out and say, well, I've developed this game. And it's like, oh, this is a new design. It's like, no, I'm not. I've been sitting in the background. I'm like a backing singer. You see them all the time on The Voice. They used to say, well, I was a backing singer. Who did you backing sing? I backing sung with. I was with Beyonce. I did the backing singing for Beyonce, kind of thing. Oh, you did, and it turns out they're absolutely fantastic. They're just not being out in the kind of the front. But that doesn't detract from the fact that Wildland Ancients, and I'm going to be doing.
Oh yeah, sure.
There's going to be videos and potentially written stuff and things like that. I'm gonna write a kind of a take on it.
I haven't played it myself, unfortunately, but hearing how much you love it, I am going to specifically, if I get into a situation where maybe in the next few months I am able to borrow it from somewhere, to go to maybe even a games cafe or something like that in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
Maybe I will, go there, try and find someone who's similarly inclined and give it a go. Because card-driven skirmish, that sounds like good fun to me.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's kind of good fun. Yeah. So I've been doing that. I've still been trying to get kind of like games played, which is incredibly difficult. In terms of your drive for games kind of going forward, I mean, you mentioned doing kind of like smaller kind of print on demand. Are you moving away from the kind of the chasing your next game? I mean, so here's the question. You've got a successful game. You've got a successful game that I can walk into a high street in my town where I live, and your game is actually sitting on the shelf in a major high street retailer.
I want to say two things. Firstly, as I said right at the start, yes, I am very, very fortunate from a economical point of view. I essentially have this safety net that it is paying this thing. And yes, I've done a lot of other stuff in the past year. I've gotten money from a few different companies for consultation, for making games that... Yeah, the game for King's College London sadly was never displayed, but hey ho, I still got paid because King's College London was good like that. They still pay you. But, and I did a wee bit of consultation.
Did you get a job with them?
Oh, anyway, the point is that I'm fortunate to have, but emotionally, I can see, wow, it sold 50,000 copies in the past X amount of time. And that is amazing. Yeah. That kind of sometimes boggles my mind, but sometimes it doesn't feel real. Do you know what I mean? And then on Board Game Trading and Chat, UK Big2Cock. So on Big2Cock, someone was recently saying, hey, I'm starting a thing for schools, and do people have recommendations? And I have this thing where if you are doing social good with games, I will do you a massive discount. Basically, I will give you stuff at the cheapest possible price I can afford to do it. And because I like people, and then the person said, "Oh, this is brilliant. I will definitely get some Yogi off you when things come back." And they sent me a picture of their wee child playing Yogi, and it was like, just that made it more meaningful. Do you know what I mean? Knowing for sure that people are still enjoying it. Like when I go into a shop, there's a vague sense, okay, presumably people are enjoying it. I mean, I assume, hopefully that's what's helping it spread, that people are having fun and telling other people to buy it. But you never know for sure. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm kind of past the point slightly of that seed of doubt in my mind. I'm like, yeah, it is actually a good game. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I am.
It is a good game.
Thank you. But
no, it is a good game. It's genuinely,
it's different. And that's the thing. Like, emotionally, my major satisfaction is when I'm at a convention and then I see people playing that thing. Emotionally, it's when I see someone in another, and this has only happened with Yogi, but when I see someone in another language reviewing it and I didn't even ask them to, and they just decided to review it because they love it that much. It's when, you know, even with my own self-published games, it's when I send it to someone and then they review it, and sometimes they don't like it, which is fair, but sometimes they do, and that feels brilliant. They got on exactly with it. They understood what it was all about. And you know, seeing that it's resonating, because what I've realized over the past year, Richard, because I had some major realizations. Firstly, I realized that we can be hopeful, even if we don't expect very much. We have to keep that hope alive in our hearts. That's my first major realization. And that was taught to me by Xate. I just want to give lots of shouts outs to Xate. But used to be regular on my stream, and then I helped Xate get a job at Board Game Arena, and now Xate is doing community management and doesn't have time to watch my stream, which is great, because now they've got a job, which they were struggling with not having a job.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all public information. I don't think they'll mind me saying that. But anyway, the second thing is to be free with love, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying, oh, we need to go off and shag everybody. What I'm saying is, like, if you love someone, express that love. Like, remind people that you love them. If you don't be like, oh, should I say that I love you or should I not? If you're wondering that, you probably love that person, just say it. Say, I appreciate you. If you appreciate something about someone, even if you don't, like, love them, if you're like, you know what, that top looks great, kind of be free with your compliments. Be free with, thank you for doing that. Be free with, I appreciate you being here for me. Be free with, I love you, and I've really enjoyed being in your presence. Thank you so much. And ultimately, you know, what it comes down to is that it's all about the humans. I know this is kind of cliche when people say, oh yeah, board games don't really matter and humans matter. But board games matter because we imbue them with meaning. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. When I said earlier on that board game or games in general are a set of rules that you consciously agree to, when you agree to them, when you step within that magic circle, you've decided that this thing has meaning. And for that moment, that's what you congregate about. But yes, it could be, you know, reading, it could be dancing, it could be all sorts of things. And the people do matter. But, you know, I've decided that board games are my passion, and I don't know if I've decided, but, you know, I'm very happy with that. Sorry, you were asking me about my games, and I've kind of rambled off on a...
That's fine. That's perfectly
do you
fine,
want me to talk about...
I never ask you questions. I never ask you questions to get a direct answer. I ask questions to get kind of like a tangent answer.
Should I try and rush through what my future holds before we wrap up, or not?
Yes. No, do that.
Okay, so basically, right now, I'm in a situation where I've decided, oh, this sounds bad, but I am kind of fed up with a lot of things. This is the truth. I am kind of fed up of logistics. I am sorry to make this political. I am fed up of the prospect of having to deal with customs forms and things. That's the reason why I printed in Europe originally, to not have to deal with that. And right now, the truth is, if this was the world right now that existed 6 years ago, I probably would never have done the Kickstarter for In a Bind, which is kind of sad. But a mixture of to be honest, Brexit and me wanting to move away to Thailand, and also me having been at this for a bunch of years. And whilst I've sold, since Cinnabine and Cinnabine Junior, and that, which was quite easy to sell, I've sold 4,000 of the LDEC and 1,000 of Kitty Cataclysm. So that's, not too bad. That's 5,000 games. But it's not enough to generate a living off. It's very much in hobby game, not as in I'm doing this for a hobby. It's very much in that this is paying me to go to the conventions and nothing else really. It's kind of, I would love the LDEC to be in a situation in 5 years' time where it's going into all these schools, where it's selling 100,000 copies every year, and I believe that I could move towards that. And I've been chatting to a publisher that I don't want to name, who you will definitely know, who I've chatted to them. They're a friend of the show, and getting some outside experience to say, hey, if I make the game, can you sell it on to Europe? And so I'll be more than a designer, but they will be slightly less than a regular publisher. That's one opportunity that I can have.
Yeah.
Because I need to start actually dealing with fulfillment companies. I can't just be here putting 300 things into an envelope.
Stuffing envelopes, Stuffing envelopes and taking
honestly,
them down the post
about
office,
150 is fine. Beyond 150, you just get fed up. Like the first... Yeah, I think...
first 163, no problem at all. Number 164, I'm rocking in the corner, crying and questioning my life choices.
And then you drag them all over to the post office, and in London you don't have a car, you can't get over there, and then you need to walk them all over in big bustly bags and make a bunch of trips. It's... I'm going to send out Categorical. I've done the Kickstarter. It is late. I'm going to get it out as soon as I can. After this is going to be the last time that I send out things and I'm illustrating every envelope. I have loved doing this. I've loved drawing all the self-portraits and the cat drawings on the envelopes, but that's it. I need to do it the more normal way of, basically getting other people. My ultimate hope, honestly, would be to get someone who is able to come and join me as a partner, who is able to say, you know what, Bez, I am happy to take care of logistics. I'm happy to do the marketing for you. You'll still be involved. And, I am loving the creativity part. I'm loving the designing of the games. I want to keep doing that forever, no matter what, because I absolutely adore it. But actually going through that logistics, that's just a nightmare. And I need someone who's a bit more of a managing type, someone who's a bit more of a, okay, I'm going to be organized, someone who's actually going to put in the passion, similar to me, where they come back after, we can say, hey, Bez, I've got this idea for something cool that you could do at the next convention. Or, hey, Bez, I've thought of a new kind of wee mini game that you could put on Twitter. Or, hey, how about this is a way that we can get it into John Lewis or some other big store. Kind of someone who's helping me be active with this stuff, and not just me telling them what to do, but them actually... Ultimately, my ideal situation, if I could wave a wand, would be that I was like the Mark Rosewater of the LDEC. So, I'm the head designer, I run the competition, I, do development, I keep tabs on everything from a rules point of view, but then other people do stuff. And part of that is I have been hiring other people to help me, and I'm actually going to be chatting to my friend tomorrow to say, hey, would you be up for helping me with marketing? But that's not the best way. Ultimately, maybe I do need to, I think, write a job description, be a bit more proactive about it, say, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and would you be up for doing this? Okay, would someone be up for doing this? Like, starts off £10 an hour, and then we'll build, if it works out, maybe we work out, okay, there's some sort of percentage profit share. But then that's also the thing, like, I don't know what my route to profitability is going to be like exactly. And that's where, frankly, probably, Richard, I'm not a good business person. That's the truth. And I need someone to come in and
I know that. No, I don't know. I think where you're coming from is that at some point you need a boring person who's pretty good with Excel spreadsheets.
No, I don't want them to be totally boring.
Somebody that makes sure they come into the office and they've already come in with a jar of coffee, because when they left last night they noticed that the coffee was running low, so they don't want anybody
do that kind of
stuff.
I can be good with the house. I'm good at keeping the toilet paper going, I'll have you know. I'm sure.
I have no doubt.
No, but they don't need to be boring. But I kind of, yes, someone who's rigorous, who's actually on top of stuff, who's
yes,
yeah,
who keeps a diary. That kind of thing. But no, sometimes I think it's very difficult to kind of like maintain your brand and what you're known for when you get to a certain size and you're actually saying, well, actually, I need to expand here, but I need to do this on a much bigger level and upscale it, but I still need to maintain what people really, really
and part
fell
of
in
me
love
is
with in the
thinking
first
like
place.
the busy budget bags where, yeah, that's a way for me to say, you know what, I'm not going into Kickstarter with lots of stress. It's literally, if 50 people want this, that's enough, that's fine. And it'll be like £6 or £7, something like that. And then if you're in the UK, it'll be minimal postage. It'll be like £1. If you're within the UK, you'll get the game for maybe £8. And if you're in the USA, maybe it'll be, I don't know, £15, because, you know. But that'll be a case of me getting stuff together and just really wanting it to exist. But when it comes to something like the L deck or a reprint of Kitty Cataclysm, if I am to reprint Kitty Cataclysm, which I would like to do because there's definitely small tweaks that I would like to make to it to improve it, but if I am to redo it, I need that to be profitable. I need it to be managed in a proper way, because I know it's not, you know, the amount of some Kickstarters, but it's still thousands of pounds. And I need to be a bit more serious and more formal and more proper, good at managing all this money.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. That's like,
I'm almost thinking of, with the L deck, if someone could come on and I say, you know what, let's just cordon off this stuff, and this is called Stuff by Everyone, because that's what the L deck was always meant to be. Like, that's why, you know, version 2 on the back, it does say Stuff by Everyone. And on Categorical, I wasn't sure whether to call it Stuff by Tom Cauldron or Stuff by Tom and Bez or Stuff by Bez and Tom or Stuff by Everyone. Maybe that's it. And it's like, this is the brand for the L deck, so you kind of know it's still got that Stuff by Bez if that means anything to anyone. But then the L deck, I want that to be the brand. I want it to be like, L deck, boom. And people are like, okay, I might buy Categorical, which is a graffiti-inspired one, or Couple, and I'm getting Miles Atkinson to do a sort of nature-themed things where all the letters look like trees, and it's...
I've seen some of that on Facebook, and it looks absolutely stunning.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I not that I was the one to draw it, but I should say I'm glad to hear you agree. Because, Miles has done a great job, and obviously, for the final thing, the thing that matters most is the front cover. And I'm at the point where I'm thinking, okay, for Categorical, like, in a way, that's meant to be me, but should I paint the front cover, or should I get someone else to do it? Is there someone else who could do it better? And I don't know. It's like I want to make the best things that I can, but there's always constraints. And if someone could join me on this journey, that would be much appreciated. This is a public shout out and a cry for help.
There you go. It's a public shout out. And it's also, it's a major cry for help. If people have listened along tonight and they've kind of felt this is kind of like some kind of charity call out where they're like, Bez is looking for somebody to help them with their games. Can you help, Bez? Text
I would love
can
that.
to 87265.
No, my email is stuffbybez@gmail.com. So STUFFBYBEZ.
I was just about to say, you should interrupt. If people wanted to try and find you on the internet webs, where would they find you on the internet webs if they wanted to come along and work beside you? As long as you're willing to accept that if you do come along and work with Bez, you will be interrupted when they're just about to get to the good bit. Where can we find you on the internet webs?
That's not entirely true.
It's recorded. People
Okay,
will listen and go, all right. No, go on.
Sorry, you were saying, let me not interrupt you.
No, on you go. You're about to tell everybody where they can find you.
Right, well...
In your own time.
I am stuffbybez.com, twitter.com/stuffbybez, instagram.com/stuffbybez. If you want to watch my streams, I don't know what day this is coming out, but until the start of June, I want to say, I'm doing streaming every day at 10 a.m. UK time, and there's other streams going on. You'll be able to find that all on stuffbybez.com/streams, which takes you to my Google Calendar, twitch.tv/stuffbez, that's youtube.com/stuffbez. If you want to work with me, please email me on stuffbybez@gmail.com. Yeah, and you can also
do all of that.
Yeah.
Do all of that.
But
all of that.
The most important thing is to have fun and do something that you think is worth doing and connect to people, if I may be so bold.
Yes. Absolutely. That's important. And if you want to connect with us, there's a couple of places you can go. You can go. Let's not even go there. You can find all of our stuff if you go to we'renotwizards.com. You can find all the stuff about the podcast, and that podcast will send you links to everywhere where you can find us. If you want to read about stuff that we've been writing, and we've been writing about a couple of video games recently. The most recent one was Rogue Heroes, which is like an RPG Zelda roguelike game, which is a little bit of good fun. You can go to we'renotwizards.co.uk. If you like something on your back and want to look stylish and tasty, then go to sirmeeple.com and search for We're Not Wizards, because we have got the most delicious merchandise available with all
Can you actually eat it?
Delicious. No, you don't. This is, sausage and sizzle kind of thing. Don't kind of interrupt again. We're on YouTube. Search for We're Not Wizards. We're on Twitter. We're Not Wizards. You can find us on all the different places. Worn Out Faces, bright and early for the daily races. And if you do like what you've listened to tonight, then make sure you Make sure you check us out on all your favourite podcast catchers of choice. If you are considering leaving a rating or review,
don't give them
remember, don't give us because it makes us big-headed. But at the same time, don't give us a 1.
No, that would make them cry.
It makes us cry. Yeah, give me something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average and just a little bit average. But the person who's not being average is the rather wonderful, rather fantastic Bez.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you very much.
There's only 2 more things to do. First thing is to remember that we're many things.
Firstly,
but we're not wizards. Stop interrupting.
We might be rollers. We might be folders. But we're not
We might be
wizards.
strollers, but we're definitely not wizards. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So say goodbye, Bez.
Bye-bye.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, rule 6 is make something awful, and don't interrupt us. But until the next time, goodbye. Say goodbye then. Bye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.